Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. The Transformers have seen a heck of a lot of screen time recently now that they're banging out movies left, right, and center, but there have been a bunch of different versions of the Transformers over the years, so let's talk about 10 of the most influential iterations of the franchise. But no Michael Bay. Everyone knows that version already. Also, I'll just point out that these aren't necessarily the 10 best versions, since that's super subjective. I just chose the 10 that I most wanted to talk about. Although number 1 does happen to be the best, objectively, if you disagree, you're wrong. If you finish this and want more, check out our video on the alternate versions of Iron Man next. But first, get ready, it's time for the top 10 alternate versions of the Transformers.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots raise their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons.
Number 10, Energon. Okay, I know this is a top 10 list, but I think we need to start with Energon just to point out how terrible it was. Here, the insane alien Alpha Q created the Terrorcons in an attempt to steal away the Energon from the Autobots' Energon mines. He intended to use the Energon to recreate the worlds consumed by Unicron, but after allowing Megatron to come back, Megatron pretty much immediately took back control. Because he's the boss, damn it. Honestly, it might have been a decent series if they took more time to write it, but as it stands, it was insanely repetitive. They pretty much completed the main storyline halfway through, and the rest was just filler and a rehashing of the first storyline. Plus, the voice acting wasn't the best since it was dubbed poorly. Sometimes a character even spoke with the wrong voice. What I'm saying is, if this list makes you nostalgic and you want to go back and watch one version, don't make it Energon. Number 9, the Bumblebee movie. Yeah, it's time to plug the story that brought this list up, although we had been meaning to do it anyway. We don't know a whole lot about the Bumblebee movie yet, which will be coming out on December 21st, 2018. It's a prequel to the original series looking at the early days of Bumblebee on Earth. But this time, Bumblebee's a Volkswagen Beetle, just like he originally was in the show. Bumblebee was the first Transformer revealed in the first movie, and we kind of figured he'd be around for a while since he was looking pretty beat up in the secondhand shop. It'd be cool to reveal some of the mystery behind his time on Earth. Obviously, this will be rather different from the other movies since there will probably be fewer Transformers around. Plus, Bumblebee is a different kind of car, which causes his humanoid form to look different as well and a lot friendlier, with a bee helmet. And he does not like to be rickrolled. I won't get my hopes up yet, but it looks like it could be a nice change from the last few movies, especially since it's directed by Travis Knight. Number 8, Combiner Wars. Combiner Wars got the hopes of the fans way up. It was supposed to be Transformers for adults, claiming to be Game of Thrones of Transformers. It even came out alongside a toy line aimed at collectors rather than kids. But then it debuted in August 2016 and it did not go well. In attempting to make it more adult, they just made it worse. Previously interesting characters became one-dimensional, the super non-violent and diplomatic Windblade became a crazy murderer, the voice acting was mediocre, and the graphics were surprisingly shoddy given how recent it was. I gotta say though, the combiner aspect was pretty neat, where 5 Transformers would combine into one giant one, even if it was basically Transformers meets Power Rangers. Not the most original, but a pretty neat addition to Transformers. Plus, hey, it may have been flawed, but with 8 5-minute episodes, at least it was short, so you can go watch them all in one sitting if you want. Number 7, OG Transformers. We've seen a lot of different variations to the Transformers over the years, but there will always be a place in the heart of every fan for the original series. Coming out in 1984, the show became really popular really quickly thanks in part to the popularity of the toys. And that was no coincidence. The show was actually produced by Hasbro to run alongside the Transformers line of toys. It was based on the toys. Here we got our first sense of OG Optimus and amazing Canadian voice actor Peter Cullen, who voiced Optimus in the recent films as well, and like most of every Transformers. This was also the first, but definitely not the last, appearance of the great Frank Welker in the franchise, who did one of the most unique and popular voices for Megatron ever. He did voices for a bunch of Decepticons actually, and he apparently had to record his Megatron lines last because all the raspiness destroyed his voice. This also saw the classic Transformers story where the warring Autobots and Decepticons crash on Earth, wake up millions of years later in 1984 and continue their battle there. But you know all that. Number 6, Robots in Disguise. The first one. Robots in Disguise was the first Transformers style iteration I personally saw, having only seen Beast Wars before it, so it'll always have a place in my heart. Hasbro was planning to follow up Beast Machines with a new iteration called Transtech, but when Beast Machines fell short, they canned Transtech. However, this left them with a year without new toys to sell, and that's unacceptable, so they imported Transformers car robots from Japan, renamed it Robots in Disguise, gave it a funky theme song, and Bob's your uncle, you've got a hit on your hands. Well, maybe not a hit, but it was a hell of a lot better than Energon. Robots in Disguise was fairly similar to the original series, although it was slightly more strange in certain areas. But they brought back Autobots and Decepticons and brought back the car transformations, which was great for older fans. The transition from Japanese makes certain parts a bit awkward, but it turned out to be a pretty decent series. One might say there was more than meets the eye. I'm so funny. The only problem was a bunch of early episodes had to be rehashed since it coincided with 9/11, and that caused a few plot issues, but that's not their fault. Number 5. Transformers Animated. Transformers Animated was widely seen as a big step up from previous attempts. This series saw 5 relatively unknown Autobots landing on 22nd century Earth, including Rodimus Prime, previously Hot Rod. This is following a big confrontation with Megatron over the Allspark, which was a powerful artifact that grants access to the Cybertronian afterlife, a place where their sparks go and they wait to be reincarnated. I learned so much about Transformers today. On Earth, they defend the humans from the Decepticons with the help of Sari, a young girl who is able to communicate with the Allspark. The show managed to actually be pretty funny at times while being pretty darn grim at others, which is really tough to do in any medium, let alone a cartoon aimed at kids. That said, some people didn't love the change in tone, claiming that it was too much of a departure from the past. But it's pretty good to me. Number 4. Prime. Honestly, Prime has a lot of things going for it, but it makes it on this list for the animation. It was just gorgeous. After the first movie came out and the Transformers started being seen in a bit of a more badass light, Hasbro decided to make a new series that was way more cinematic, and they nailed it. They even brought back the OG voices of Peter Cullen as Optimus and Frank Welker as Megatron, which helped to ground the series with G1. Now, the story itself wasn't the best, it was kind of slow and didn't have the best payoff, but the awesome music, excellent voice acting, and of course, the beautiful animation more than made up for the mediocre story. Number 3. Super God Master Force. This series from the late 80s took a more Japanese-inspired approach to the series, which, given the name, isn't that surprising. It's kinda hard not to read it in a Japanese accent, but I won't because I'm not an idiot. This one changed things up big time. There was still the usual conflict between the Autobots and Decepticons, but a lot of the story revolved around the actions of the humans. They used Transtectors, unliving shells of Autobots, in order to fight, piloting them like Gundams. They're led by a truck driver who rocks a wicked Optimus Prime looking Transtector. Side note, Transtector is a really weird word. When I try to say it, my brain goes, that can't be right. But it's a real word. Anyway, this was the first huge departure from the original series, and it opened the door to other alterations to the usual Transformers style, such as, Number 2, Beast Machines. Beast Machines was probably one of the more controversial of the shows, largely because they made significant changes to the backstory of the Cybertronians. Don't get me wrong, the show wasn't without its merits. The voice acting was excellent. Many think it's the best voice acting in any Transformers show. And the graphics were also really great, especially for the time. Plus, it had the Transformers as animals, which is way better in my opinion. I'll expand on that in the next point. But the problem is, they totally changed a few major points. For one, it was revealed that the Cybertronians, including the Autobots and the Decepticons, were meant to become these techno-organic hybrids, mixing it up with animals. But it doesn't end there. The new backstory turned Optimus into some religious zealot and Megatron into this uber-serious tyrant. Plus, Rhinox was made into a villain, and he was my favorite character in Beast Wars. Which, I suppose, leads us to number 1.
Beast Wars!
Or Beasties to my fellow Canadians. That's right, it had a different name here in Canada, so if any Canucks out there were wondering why you saw 2 different names for the show, that's why. Although, I gotta confess, Beast Wars totally sounds better. The show was created by Mainframe, the same company that did Reboot, which was ironically rebooted recently, but apparently it sucks, so I haven't watched it. Beast Wars saw the Transformers crashing on prehistoric Earth, where they all gained the ability to change into various animals, only able to remain in humanoid form for small periods of time. This is because of the energy emitted from the Energon on the planet. There was Optimus Prime Mole, the gorilla, Cheetor the cheetah, Rhinox the rhino, Rat Trap the rat, Dinobot the Predacon turned Maximal Velociraptor, plus Megatron was a freaking T-Rex. Awesome! There's also a loner guy, Tigatron the White Tiger, who was everyone's favorite, but personally I liked Rhinox, and Megatron, who was just wonderfully flamboyant.
Yours is the first chapter in the history of Cybertron, a chapter that is about to be rewritten.
There were a bunch of others as well, it's too many to name, but man, this show was my jam! I wasn't even aware of Autobot and Decepticon as terms for years, it was just Maximals and Predacons as far as I was concerned. But, in my opinion, the animal aspect made it significantly cooler than any of the other Transformers shows or movies. I want a Beast Wars movie! That's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please smack that thumbs up button and subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more videos. Let me know your favorite version of the Transformers in the comment section down below, even if they didn't make the list. It was painful leaving some of the great ones off the list, but I really wanted to warn people away from the lousy ones too. Also, if you want a sweet playlist to watch so you can just get nerdy without clicking, check out our Top 10 alternate versions playlist on the channel. Until next time, I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie with Top 10 Nerd. Later, nerds.
Transformers, golden meets the eye.